There are thousands of videos about golf swing technique, but few videos actually talk about how to effectively change your golf swing. If you struggle to make swing changes, or you make swing changes and you can't transfer them to the golf course, then stick around, we're going to talk about the most effective way to do that in this video. We're going to cover 6 simple steps to make your swing changes quicker and make them stick on the golf course and when you need them in competition. And if you stick around to the end of the video, we'll cover a few extra tips for how to perform on the golf course and how not to get bogged down in swing thoughts when you're playing under pressure. Step 1 is actually to make golf swings without a golf ball. If you can't make the movement without a golf ball there's no point starting to hit golf balls and wasting your time. We call these dry swings, and essentially what you're trying to do here is just get the club in the right position or rehearse the correct movement and not worrying at all about hitting a golf ball or where the golf ball would go. In the example we're going to use in this video, I'm trying to get the club less shut at the top of the backswing and less across the line. But don't worry, these same processes apply to whatever changes you're making in your golf swing. So the goal at this stage is just to learn what the correct movement or position feels like. At this point, you can stop, you can pause at any point if it's helpful. It's also really good just to exaggerate the movement so you can get an understanding of what's the difference between your bad swing feeling and what you're trying to do when you're swinging the golf club. Take your time to get in the right position, and if you find that you are actually in a poor position, take your time to correct it, put it in the correct position and get an understanding of what this position or movement feels like. At this step, it's really useful to get feedback as well. So if you have a mirror to hand or you want to video your golf swing, it's really important just to see if you're actually doing what you think you're doing. Now this first step is something that amateur golfers completely miss out most of the time. However, if you look at elite players, they spend so much time just trying to make sure they understand what the movement feels like and being able to do it before they hit golf balls. Step 2 is part practice. That means breaking down the movement into separate parts before we actually put it all back together again. The key at this point is to focus on making great movements. We don't care too much about where the golf ball goes yet, we just want to make sure we can put the club or our body in the correct positions and make contact with the golf ball.
That is so far right. Great contact. But I hit that, I was like, oh my god. Oh, that is a perfect movement though.
In this example here, you can see we're pausing halfway through the backswing, just trying to correct that club and get it into a good position before we complete the backswing. This is a really simple example of part practice, but can be applied to many things in your backswing. If you're making changes in your downswing or into impact, it can be harder to make these changes. You can pause halfway down, or another thing is just to make a simpler movement. For example, try and exaggerate that movement, hitting pitch shots or half shots. That's another type of part practice that can be really effective for learning how to hit the golf ball with your new swing technique. Step 3, we're going to use some part hole practice. So we're going to use some swings with a pause in them and then some full movements. The reason for this is it helps us link these movements together. So part practice is great for getting the club in the right position and orientation, whereas hole practice is better for that sequencing and timing of trying to coordinate how our body should move as we hit a golf ball. We're also going to add a little bit more variability and actually mix up the clubs we use at this type of practice. This again makes it a little bit more challenging to make the swing change, but helps us transfer it onto the golf course where we want to use our swing change. We're going to start with a wedge, and we're going to have one swing where we pause halfway back and hit the golf ball. We're then going to have a full swing of the wedge where we don't pause. We'll hit some shots with that, and then we'll move on to a mid-iron, do the same again, move on to a longer iron, and then finally do this with a driver as well. What you'll find when you're doing this type of practice is that you'll get very different results between your swings when you pause and those swings when you actually just strike a full golf swing. That's fine, and the whole point of this is to try and allow your body to understand how we link these movements together and make a coherent golf swing without stopping. Step 4 is called hole block practice, and it's actually what most golfers start with. This is where you just go to the range and you hit lots of balls with a club, just trying to make good golf swings and actually start to think about where the golf ball's going along with making the right movement. Most golfers just start here and miss out the phases before, but I promise you if you do the phases before this, you'll be a lot more successful at this stage. Another thing at this point is that practice swings are really beneficial. Make sure you have lots of practice swings in between each shot and potentially use exaggerated practice swings. That's a great way just to make sure you're getting that feeling in your mind of what you're trying to do with the golf club and make the most of those repetitions with the golf ball. Step 5 is called varied practice. Now there's loads of ways we can do this. We can start to just hit different clubs on the range, or we can actually take the same club and aim for different targets. But I'm going to give you a few tips that I think are the most effective way of making swing changes that actually stick on the golf course. I would start by taking a mid-iron and just hitting a normal full golf shot. From that, I'd actually then see if you can hit a slightly more controlled shot. So go down to say 85% or 70%. And see if you can actually still make a really good golf swing and hit a good golf shot when you actually make a more controlled golf swing. If you want to play around with varied practice, you can just start to mix things up a little bit more within your golf swing. So you can put the ball a little bit further forward or a little bit further back and see if you can still make really good contact. Another thing you can start to do is actually start to shape the ball a little bit. So can you hit a little bit of a fade into a target? Can you hit a bit of a draw into the target? And still make a good golf swing and make good contact with the golf ball. Now, when you start going through varied practice, you're going to hit lots of terrible golf shots, and that can be quite annoying, but actually it preps you so much better for taking this out on the golf course. When you're on the golf course, everything changes. Your lie is different every time, you're slightly more fatigued towards the end of the round, you can have different wind conditions, so you really need to learn to make a robust, adaptable movement with your swing changes. Varied practice is really important, it's something many golfers miss out, and that's one of the reasons they struggle to take these swing changes onto the golf course. Step 6, on-course practice. Now this is something few golfers do as well. We're not going on the golf course and just seeing how low we can shoot. We're actually going on the golf course with the sole aim of taking our technique on the golf course and learning more about it. This exposes you to many different conditions, whether it's wind, different lies, things you just don't get on the golf range. But it also allows you to work out what's the feelings you get when you have a bad golf swing. Also, when you make a technically good golf swing, does the golf ball go where you imagine? At this point, you should go out there and just get some reps under your belt making good golf swings. Over a period of time, you can start to adjust this so you can quieten your mind, start to change those technical swing thoughts into more of a feeling or sensation you can play with, which is something we're going to talk about in a moment. Okay, I lied, there's actually a step 7, which is maintenance. Sadly, we will always regress back into old swing habits. So you've just got to pencil in some time just to keep on top of this and do the drills and the little bits of practice that keep your golf swing in really good shape. This happened to me a couple of weeks ago. I was playing some really good golf with these backswing changes. I was playing really consistently. And then after a few weeks off, I played a really bad round of golf. Luckily, my friend Rob was filming me off the 17th tee. When I looked at the video, my backswing was horrendous. It was right back to where it was before. So I had to pencil in a little bit of time just to work on these swing changes and get them back into shape. The good news is if you put in the work before, you can kind of glide through a few of these stages and quickly get your golf swing back in a good position, ready to play good golf. So let's talk about moving between these stages. You don't have to spend 1 to 2 weeks in each stage before you move on, but it's a general process that will really help you understand where you should spend your time and how you should practice. For me, I think a really good guide is if you can hit 7 out of 10 good shots or make 7 out of 10 good golf swings, let's say stage 1, you're then ready to move on to stage 2. Once you can do that at stage 2, you're ready to move on to stage 3. You might find that you hop in between a few stages and go back and forth as you have good days practice and bad days practice. But try and keep in mind 7 out of 10. And this feeds into another great tip to stop you getting bogged down with swing thoughts when you're back out playing golf and competing. And that's to use that practice swing to create the feelings you need to hit the golf ball. So in practice, we're using that practice swing to create the right swing sensations and generate a feel that is really clear and simple to use. When we get on the golf course, you should use that practice swing for the same reason. Use it before you hit a golf ball, get that clear sensation in your head of what it feels like to make a great golf swing, and then when you step over the golf ball, just replicate that same feeling. This stops you trying to mechanically think about things in your swing, and you can just replicate the same feeling with a golf ball and see where the golf ball goes. So that wraps up the 6 stages of how to effectively change your golf swing. It's not some magical framework, but after years of coaching golf and studying motor learning, it combines some really useful principles of feedback, practice structure, and it actually makes practice more fun and engaging as well. So enjoy using that out there, have fun practicing, and enjoy taking those changes onto the golf course.